Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me for reading today. We're going to pick back up with Pinocchio. So I hope everybody's comfortable. I hope everybody has their beverage. And we're going to get started on chapter 10. The puppets recognize Pinocchio as one of them and are pleased to see him. But Fire Eater, the showman, appears in the midst of their joy, and Pinocchio almost comes to a bad end. When Pinocchio entered the puppet show, he nearly caused a revolution. You must know that the curtain was up, and they had just started the play. Harlequin and Puccinello were on the stage, quarreling as usual, threatening every moment to come to blows. The audience paid the closest attention and were laughing until they were sore to see those two puppets quarreling and gesticulating and calling each other names, just as if they were truly two reasoning beings, two real persons. But all at once Harlequin stopped and turned to the public, pointed to the pit of the theater, and shouted dramatically, "Heavens above! Am I awake or am I dreaming? That must be Pinocchio there." "Yes, it's indeed Pinocchio," cried Puccinello. "It is indeed," exclaimed Miss Rossi, peeping from the back of the stage. "Here's Pinocchio! Here's Pinocchio!" shouted all the puppets in chorus, running to the stage from every wing. "Here's Pinocchio! Here's our brother Pinocchio! Hurrah for Pinocchio!" "Come up here to me, Pinocchio," cried Harlequin. "Come and throw yourself into the arms of your wooden brothers." At this affectionate invitation, Pinocchio made one jump from the back of the pit to the front seats. Another jump, and he landed on the head of the orchestra leader, and from there he jumped to the stage. It is impossible to describe the hugging and kissing that followed, the friendly pinches, the brotherly taps that Pinocchio received from the actors and actresses of that puppet company. It was a spectacular sight, but the audience, when they saw that the play had stopped, grew impatient and began shouting, "The play! We want the play! Go on with the play!" However, their breath was wasted, for the puppets, instead of continuing the play, redoubled their noise, and placing Pinocchio on their shoulders, carried him in triumph before the footlights. Suddenly the showman appeared. He was very tall and so ugly that he frightened anyone who looked at him. His beard was like black ink, and it was so long that it reached the ground. Believe me, he stepped on it when he walked. His mouth was as big as an oven, his eyes like two burning red lanterns, and he was constantly cracking a great whip made of serpents' and foxes' tails, twisted together. When the showman appeared so unexpectedly, everybody was speechless. No one breathed. You could have heard a fly in the air. Even the poor puppets, male and female, trembled like so many leaves. "Why have you come here to disturb my theater?" he asked Pinocchio, in a voice like that of a spook with a bad cold in his head. "Believe me, your honor, it was not my fault." "Not another word. We shall settle our accounts tonight." As soon as the show was over, the showman went into the kitchen, where the whole sheep, which he was preparing for his supper, was roasting on the slowly turning spit. When he saw that there was not enough wood to finish roasting it, he called Harlequin and Puccinello and said, "Bring me in Pinocchio. You will find him hanging on a nail. He is made of nice dry wood, and I am sure he will make a good fire for my roast." At first Harlequin and Puccinello hesitated, but when the showman glanced at them menacingly, they obeyed. In a few moments they returned to the kitchen carrying poor Pinocchio, who was wriggling like an eel out of water, and shouting desperately, oh, Daddy, save me! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!" Chapter 11. Fire Eater sneezes and pardons Pinocchio, who later saves the life of his friend Harlequin. Fire Eater, for that was the showman's name, looked a horrid man, there can be no doubt about it, particularly with his black beard hanging down like an apron covering his chest and legs. Yet at heart he was not really so bad. When he saw poor Pinocchio struggling and crying, "I don't want to die! I don't want to die!" he felt sorry for him, and although he tried not to, at last he could not help it and sneezed violently. Harlequin, who had been sad and downhearted and looking like a weeping willow, when he heard that sneeze, became cheerful, and bending towards Pinocchio, whispered, "Good news, brother. The showman has sneezed. That's a sign that he's pitying you, and you are saved. For you must know that, whilst other men weep, or at least pretend to wipe their eyes, when they pity somebody, whenever Fire Eater really pitied anyone, he had the habit of sneezing." After the showman had sneezed, he continued speaking gruffly and shouted at Pinocchio, "Can't you stop crying? It gives me a nasty feeling in my stomach. I feel such a pain that, achoo! Achoo!" And this time he sneezed twice. "God bless you," said Pinocchio. "Thank you. And your father and mother, are they alive?" asked the Fire Eater. "My father is, but I never knew my mother." "You know how sorry your old father would be if I threw you on the fire. Poor old man, I pity him. Achoo! Achoo! Achoo!" And he sneezed 3 times. "Bless you," cried Pinocchio. "Thank you. On the other hand, you must be sorry for me too, because, as you see, I haven't enough wood to finish roasting my mutton, and believe me, you certainly would have been very useful. But now I have spared you, and I must not complain. Instead of you, I shall burn some puppet of my company under the spit. Come on, gendarmes!" The 2 wooden gendarmes appeared immediately at this command. They were very tall and very thin. They wore helmets and carried drawn swords in their hands. The showman ordered them hoarsely, "Take that Harlequin, bind him strongly, and throw him on the fire. My mutton must be well roasted." Imagine poor Harlequin. He was so frightened that his legs bent under him, and he fell on his face. At this heartbreaking sight, Pinocchio knelt down at the showman's feet, and weeping, he soused with tears the whole length of his long beard. Then he pleaded, "Have mercy, Sir Fire Eater." "There are no sirs here," replied the showman sternly. "Have mercy, cavalier." "There are no cavaliers here." "Have mercy, commander." "There are no commanders here." "Have mercy, your excellency." When he heard himself called "Your Excellency," the showman smiled with his lips, and suddenly, growing kind and calmer, asked Pinocchio, "What can I do for you?" "I implore you to pardon poor Harlequin." "It cannot be done. As I pardoned you, I must put him on the fire, for my mutton must be well roasted." "In that case," cried Pinocchio, rising and throwing away his cap of bread, "in that case, I know my duty. Forward, gendarmes! Bind me and throw me in the fire. It is not just that poor Harlequin, my truest friend, should die for me." These words, shouted in a loud, heroic voice, caused all the marionettes present to weep. Even the gendarmes, although made of wood, cried like newborn babies. At first, Fire Eater remained as hard and cold as ice. Slowly he began to melt and to sneeze. When he had sneezed 4 or 5 times, he opened his arms affectionately to Pinocchio, saying, "You're a good, brave boy. Come here and give me a kiss." Pinocchio ran quickly, and climbing up the showman's beard like a squirrel, gave him a loud kiss on the tip of the nose. "Is my life spared?" asked poor Harlequin in a trembling voice that could hardly be heard. "Your life is spared," replied Fire Eater. Then he added, shaking his head, "Very well, then. This evening I must eat my mutton half done. But another time, woe to him who—" When they knew that their brothers were pardoned, all the puppets ran back to the stage, lit all the lights as for a festive performance, and began to jump and dance. They were still dancing at dawn. That's where we're going to stop. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you here tomorrow. Bye.